With the passing of Pope Francis, Catholics around the world are asking one question: who could be next? This video will walk through the leading candidates who might step into the shoes of the fisherman and why. We'll cover names you've heard and some that you probably haven't. And yes, we're including conservative favorite Cardinal Burke and even the newly elevated Byzantine Cardinal. It's more possible than you think. By the end of this video, you will know the cardinals who could become the next pope and who it's likely to be. At the end, I will also tell you my pick. Let's get into it. Starting off with Cardinal Peter Erdo from Hungary. At 72, the Archbishop of Budapest and Primate of Hungary was twice elected head of the Council of European Episcopal Conferences in both 2005 and 2011. That suggests he enjoys strong esteem amongst European cardinals, the largest voting bloc in a conclave. He built good relations with African bishops as well and played key roles during the synods of the family in 2014 and 2015. Erdo also delivered significant addresses and helped organize papal visits to Budapest in 2021 and 2023. This is significant. Why, might you ask? Well, he's clearly held in high regard by European cardinals who make up the largest voting bloc in a conclave. But here's the twist. His diplomatic reach extends far beyond Europe. He's also built solid relationships, as we mentioned before, with African bishops, positioning him as a key player on the global stage. But is that enough to win the papacy? Nextly, we have a fan favorite, Cardinal Raymond Burke from the US. He's a vocal conservative and critic of Pope Francis. Cardinal Burke has been a leading figure in debates over doctrine, liturgy, and church governance as well. His candidacy signals a possible pushback against the direction of the Francis papacy. His name often surfaces in discussions amongst traditionalists, but is there enough momentum behind his candidacy for him to secure the papacy? Well, he's a well-known figure, but can he really find the support of a divided church? We'll talk more about this later, but first let's move on to someone else who's in the running who might really surprise you, and that's Cardinal Reinhard Marx from Germany. At 71, the Archbishop of Munich and Freising was chosen by Francis as a key advisor in 2013 and later oversaw Vatican financial reform. He's a supporter of Germany's controversial synodal path. Marx advocated open dialogue on celibacy, homosexuality, and women's ordination. So, moves that alarmed many conservatives and even moderates. In 2021, he offered his resignation over the abuse crisis, but Francis rejected that. So, could this divisive stance make him a contender or a non-starter? I have a feeling some others on this list make a little bit of a stronger case. Next, we have Cardinal Marc Ouellet from Canada. Ouellet, at 80, led the Vatican's powerful bishop's office for over a decade. Though more conservative, he appointed pastorally minded bishops and defended celibacy and the male-only priesthood. He also led investigations into bishops who mishandled abuse cases, potentially giving him deep insight into fellow cardinals. However, the odds of a Canadian pope just seem so infinitesimally small, as Canada's global impact and influence are realistically very small. It would be quite an unstrategic choice in my opinion. Nextly, we have Cardinal Pietro Parolin, and he's from Italy. At 70, he has served as a Vatican Secretary of State since 2014. He helped broker the controversial China deal on bishop appointments and was involved in a failed London property investment. He brings diplomatic experience and could be seen as a safe insider choice who would maintain Francis's legacy, but without maybe as strong of pastoral credentials. But just wait, because up next we have someone who is surprisingly unknown but has the spirit of the early church fathers and the willingness to become a martyr for the faith, and truly has the receipts to show for it. Now stick with me. If this type of content speaks to you, please consider becoming a monthly supporter of the channel. Even $10, $25, or $100 a month helps us cover real costs: editing, cameras, lighting, travel, and time to research and produce as well. This takes 30 seconds to do. It's a very easy process, and the details are in the description. The Lungs of Faith mission cannot possibly grow without you and your support. The person we're talking about is none other than Cardinal Pierbattista Pizzaballa, and he's from Italy. At 59, he's one of the younger ones. The Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem has become a striking figure during the times of war and religious tension in the Holy Land. Fluent in Hebrew and deeply involved in the Jewish-Christian dialogue, he's known for pastoral humility, but also courageous leadership under fire. In 2023, he literally offered himself as a hostage in exchange for Israeli children held in Gaza. In a video conference with journalists, he expressed his willingness to do anything to secure the children's release, stating that, "I am ready for an exchange. Anything, if this can lead to the freedom and bring those children back home, no problem." This selfless act underscores his deep commitment to peace and the well-being of all people in the Holy Land. As the first Latin patriarch to be made a cardinal appointed by Pope Francis on September 30th, 2023, Pizzaballa's gesture was seen as a powerful symbol of pastoral courage and moral leadership, and really what we need to see more of in a time of crisis like the Catholic Church is facing right now. Moving on from him, we have Cardinal Robert Prevost, and he is from Peru/the US. At 69, he was born in Chicago, has strong ties to Latin America, and now heads the Vatican's dicastery for bishops. He also is president of the Pontifical Commission for Latin America. Francis clearly had confidence in him, sending him to Peru and then Rome. His age and nationality could count against him, but he remains still a strong candidate as he shares in a similar vision as Pope Francis, unlike the next candidate that we have to talk about, which is Cardinal Robert Serra. Serra, at 79, once head of the liturgy office, is beloved by conservatives and really known for his deep reverence for traditional liturgy. He clashed with Francis over celibacy and doctrine and was later retired. His chances may have been damaged by tensions with Francis's allies, but his profile still does remain strong. We'll touch on Cardinal Serra's likelihood of becoming Pope a little bit more later. Next, we have Austrian Cardinal Christoph Schönborn. He's 80 years old and was actually a student of Benedict XVI and supported Francis's outreach to remarried Catholics and criticized past Vatican cover-ups. He edited the 1992 Catechism and is open to women deacons and civil unions. But will his age and progressive stances be his downfall, or will that make him a candidate? Stay with me, this one's a bit of a tough one to call, but I'm edging on unlikely. Next up, we have someone who many big voices have been predicting will become the next pope, and I've heard a lot of people say this with a lot of confidence, and this is none other than the Filipino Cardinal Louis Tagle. Tagle is quite young, he's only 67, but people seem to really favor him, and he is seen as Francis's favorite for an Asian papacy. With pastoral and Vatican leadership, he's head of the evangelization office and former Caritas Internationalis president. Emotional and charismatic, Tagle represents the global south, but his age may deter electors seeking a shorter pontificate, which seems to be the trend. But as we will see later, he is far from being the youngest candidate here. Nextly, we have Cardinal Matteo Zuppi at 69 from Italy, and he heads the Italian bishops, and he is close to the Sant'Egidio community, known for interfaith work and outreach to the LGBTQ communities. He mirrors Francis's personal approach. He was appointed Francis' Peace for Envoy for Ukraine and could appeal to cardinals wanting that continuity with Francis's vision. Now, the next one is totally a wild card, but this is not actually impossible, and that is none other than Cardinal Mykola Bichok, and he is from Ukraine but is a bishop in Australia. Bichok, at only 43 years old, is the youngest cardinal and currently leads the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church in Australia. He was born in Lviv and ordained in the Redemptorist Order, which is a bi-ritual monastic order, and he served in Siberia and the US before being sent to shepherd a small but very vibrant diaspora community down under. Bichok was a total surprise pick for the cardinalate. He wasn't even a bishop for 3 full years before Francis tapped him. That raised some real eyebrows, but it also just shows you how much Francis really values the Eastern churches and the peripheries. If the conclave is looking for someone completely unexpected, young, and in touch with suffering communities, and also are in for a long papacy, Bichok suddenly becomes a fascinating wild card, and I personally think that would be pretty cool. Now, this raises the question, could an Eastern Catholic actually become the Bishop of Rome? Here's the thing, canon law does not actually forbid it. In theory, any baptized Catholic man, even outside of the College of Cardinals, can be elected pope. But in practice, basically every pope to date has come from the Latin Rite. If Cardinal Bichok were chosen, he'd be the first Eastern Catholic to ever lead the whole church, and that would be quite an interesting thing. It would also shake centuries of tradition, so while it's possible, it also remains a long shot. And exactly what kind of wildcard moment this conclave might surprise us with. So there isn't really a clear forerunner. The conclave might choose a continuation of Francis's legacy, or take a sharp turn back to a more traditional candidate. I'll touch on the conservative candidates like Cardinal Burke and Serra after this, but if I were to guess based on probability, it is likely to be someone of similar mind as Pope Francis, which could realistically be Cardinal Zuppi or Tagle. I hear a lot of people arguing for Tagle because he seems the most in line with Pope Francis's legacy, but I could also see it being Cardinal Zuppi, as we have seen a deep yearning for the return of an Italian pontiff. Based on this, my realistic prediction will be Cardinal Tagle under the name of Pope Francis II. Let's see if I'm right. And just like Pope Francis, he had a devotion to St. Francis of Assisi, so that's where I'm basing that off of. However, if it were up to me, I'm liking what I see with Cardinal Pizzaballa. For one thing, his name is absolutely epic, and Balla. Okay, no one laughed. And second of all, I think his personal witness to Christ when he literally offered himself to Islamic terrorists as an offering instead of their child hostages is something so beyond admirable, and it is a sign that he could be a really good leader, unafraid of sacrifice, and I just think that's what we need. Also, the fact that he is an Italian and he already has experience as a patriarch would really make sense with the deep desire for an Italian pontiff. Before we wrap up though, let's give a quick nod to two names you'll often hear: Cardinal Robert Sarah and Cardinal Raymond Burke. Both are hugely popular amongst traditionalist circles. Sarah for his stirring defense of the liturgy, and Burke for his very bold stand on doctrine. Yet in my opinion, neither is really likely to emerge from the conclave as pope, and thinking that is, in my opinion, just wishful. Why? Well, in Sarah's case, his public clashes with Pope Francis and his advanced age at 79 mean that many cardinals see him as too divisive and just too late in his life for the long haul. Burke, meanwhile, has been effectively sidelined, stripped of Vatican posts, and largely confined to the peripheries. His uncompromising style excites YouTube commentators and rosary rallies and people all over the internet, but it alienates the broad middle of the church where consensus is really key. So yes, they're admired, they're vocal, and they stir passionate online support, but when cardinals meet behind closed doors, I think they'll be looking for someone who can unite, renew, and just carry the church forward. And that is why, for all their popularity, Sarah and Burke remain very unlikely choices for the next Bishop of Rome, in my opinion. Now really, whatever happens, the next Pope will face massive challenges: secularization, scandal, and the growing divide between progressive and traditional Catholics. So who do you think the next pope should be? Drop a comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, happy Easter, and may the glory of our risen Lord Jesus Christ be with you all forever. This is Zach with Lungs of Faith. God bless.